بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا Muhammad وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Chapter 21 says باب التعاون على البر والتقوى, chapter of helping each other out and cooperating, joining forces upon bir and upon taqwa. At-ta'awun, helping one another, participating with each other, physically, spiritually, and mentally unifying and joining forces with the purpose of performing bir and taqwa, that which is from the deen, statements, actions, that which is from the deen with regards to community service, with regards to helping people out in the name of Islam, helping Muslims and non-Muslims, coming together to pray, to fast, to make hajj, to fight in the cause of Allah, to seek knowledge, to make the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to help the weak, to support, to feed the poor, to look after the orphans, the widows, the sick, the ill. Anything which is a means of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the proper intention and with the proper execution according to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's way, if it's a specific act of ibadah. And look carefully how masterfully An-Nawawi put his book together. Chapter 20, he said, Babu dilalati ala khairin. He says, showing people, steering people, pushing people in the direction of good, and calling people to good guidance or misguidance. And that you get the reward for calling others to good when they perform it, without diminishing their good deeds at the least. And if you call someone to misguidance, you get the sin, the mistake of calling someone to something which is incorrect. And don't think that the word calling is just verbal. It can be physical. You smoke in front of your children, you drink in front of your children, you gamble in front of your children, you fornicate your whole youthful years away, and your son grows up the same way. Or your daughter grows up the same way. Your stepchildren grow up the same way. Who's to blame? You are to blame. You don't go to the masjid. You don't do what's proper. You don't live your life in the correct way. You have called them to misguidance. You've led them you've played a negative role model. You've led a bad example for them. And vice versa is vice versa. Even if you're not speaking to your children, but by you doing the right thing, by you conducting yourself and carrying yourself, by you walking the straight path, people are watching and they're observing. And oftentimes, we as parents, we scorn our children. We look down upon them. We think that they're stupid. And we think that they're slow. We think that they don't get it. But oftentimes, they pay more attention than adults. And oftentimes, their senses are purer and cleaner than ours. Our eyes, our ears, our hearts are clogged with sin, with lust, with greed, with stress, with worry. But children, oftentimes, their senses are pure. It's like a window, a glass, a windshield wiper. You can see clearly. Ours is fog and bugs and rain. We don't see clearly. But oftentimes children have purity and they notice things. They have heightened senses. So be careful what you do in front of your children. Be careful what you do in front of those who are younger than you, those who look up to you, because you never know when they're paying attention, when they're watching. So that was the previous chapter. It's to steer other people in the direction of good. You yourself can't do it, but at least steer them in that direction. Give them the opportunity. Allow them to do something that you maybe couldn't do. And call them to guidance and don't call them to misguidance. Then after that, he mentioned, help each other out in that which is good. It's not something which is individual, by yourself. Everyone for himself, everyone by himself. But come together, be unified, be strengthened. And not upon sin and transgression. Not upon recklessness, heedlessness, eating and drinking and laughing and the worldly things, but come together upon that which is a benefit for one's soul and a benefit for one's body, which is supposed to be recycled back to the benefit of one's soul. That which we do of sleep, of eat, of drinking, enjoying our sexual desires, your wife, your husband, it's not supposed to be as it is, this material, but it's supposed to convert into something spiritual. You sleep, you need rest, you're tired, but it's not supposed to be just because you want to sleep. It's supposed to go to something that's spiritual. You work, you make money, you have children, you make your children comfortable, your wife comfortable. But it's much more than just that. It's supposed to turn into some type of spiritual gain. So when you do come together, when you do meet, let it be upon one of these two things. Show people the right way, and when you have the time to do it, lead by example and do it with them. Do it with them. And this is why we see in modern politics, whenever there's a mayor, whenever there's a leader, a governor, a king, and they make a school, or they make a masjid, a mosque, or a church, or a school for the blind, what does the leader do? What does the mayor do? What does the governor do? He goes out with all the cameras and the video recorders, and he takes, and he puts the first brick down himself. He lays the cornerstone, and they take pictures with him laying the brick for the purpose to show, look, I'm rolling up my sleeves, and I'm helping you out, and I'm working with you. I'm in the trenches just like you are. Even though he's not actually in the trenches. He's in his office, handling the affairs of the state, of the city, of the country. But to show the psychological effect on the people of ta'awun, that we're all in it together, and I can't just preach and not practice. But let me now show you some of it as well. So this is a virtuous act for the Muslims to cooperate with each other upon righteousness and upon piety, religious issues, and we said worldly issues as well, secular issues as well. And it isn't exclusive just to the Muslims. If the non-Muslims came to the Muslims and they said, we want to get rid of drugs in this neighborhood, we want to make a petition to get rid of the liquor stores in the neighborhood, or we want to make a petition to rid the neighborhood of prostitution, or we need to make a clinic, we need to raise awareness of STI, STD, of pre-marriage, sex before marriage, whatever the case may be, cancer awareness, diabetes. There are old people, they don't have heaters, or it's a heat wave in the summer, we're making a drive for air conditioners. It's not attached to the church, to the mosque, to the synagogue, to the Sikh temple. It's a community service. There are old people that are hot, they don't have fans, they don't have air conditioners. So everyone who can donate, physically carry the air conditioners up the steps to these senior citizens. And it's no strings attached pertaining to kufr and shirk as community service, then the Muslim is expected to cooperate with non-Muslims upon that. The Muslim is expected to cooperate upon that which is righteous and pious. No strings attached pertaining to misguidance. He's supposed to work, let alone with another Muslim. But the shaitan is clever and tricky and crafty. And he says, you can't go there. You can't do this. You can't help them out. You can't do that which is good. You cannot cooperate upon birr taqwa because of this, because of that, because of kada, because of kada. And that's a trick and a trap of the shaitan. If you agree upon the haqq, and it is the haqq, you're supposed to be together. The falsehood, say, I can't help you in that. I can't be a part of this community project in the name of the church. I can't help you. I can't go around passing out pamphlets about Jehovah's Witnesses. In each air conditioning unit is a pamphlet about Jehovah's Witness. I can't do that. I can't help you in that. But that which does not have the strings attached to misguidance, the Muslim is to cooperate with anyone who is helping the cause of goodness. And never underestimate the power of da'wah, the ability of da'wah, the ability of giving da'wah through your actions. And oftentimes people don't want to hear you talk, but they want to see you. They want to see you physically do it. So therefore, helping each other upon righteousness and piety. And that's a long, long discussion with regards to times in which there are strings that are attached, which you can't help out, and you're not supposed to help out. But that's not the default. And it's haram for us to make that the default. The default is وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Help each other upon righteousness and piety. It's righteousness with this masjid. Do we see eye to eye on every issue? No. Do I agree with everything that the speaker is saying in South Carolina and his background? No, I don't. But what we're talking about right now in this masjid and speaking about is something that we both agree upon. And that's the haqq from the kitab and from the sunnah. So therefore, it is my job to cooperate and to help this brother and vice versa. He does something, says something that's wrong, that's totally against the kitab and the sunnah, then that's a what? A different story. But that isn't the default. And many people today, they make that the default. You can't help out, you can't work, you can't go here, you can't do this because of the strings. But if there aren't any strings, what's important is the asal, the default, remains default. And it's haram for the tari', something that comes up and pops up to be made into the default. Everybody understand this? The default is that this thing is permissible, it's obligatory. It remains like that. Then when this person comes with this string, with this, that's a different story. But that means I avoid it in that situation, and it doesn't mean that that isolated situation now becomes the what? The default. And it's haram to cooperate, period. You can't even go near any masjid unless you put these conditions upon them, and they agree to them, and you see eye to eye every single situation and every single minute detail. That is totally unrealistic. And one sits back and he asks himself, perhaps some of these rules and principles, or this scholar, that scholar, perhaps they really don't want people to actually spread the sunnah. Perhaps they don't want Islam to spread because you're applying principles or asking people to apply certain principles which are impossible, and if not, nearly impossible for anyone to cooperate and agree on those principles. So you ask yourself, then maybe this person really doesn't want Islam to spread and the Sunnah to spread, and to keep it at a small, tiny minority, an exclusive monopoly. But that's a very, very long situation, a very, very long discussion. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, قال الله تعالى وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى وقال تعالى والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Allah the Exalted, he says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, and help each other upon bir and taqwa. Allah the Exalted says, wal asr, by time, verily man is in loss, except those who work righteous deeds, those who believe and work righteous deeds, and they advise each other with the truth, and they counsel each other with patience. وعن أبي موسى الأشعري رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال الخازن المسلم الأمين الذي ينفذ ما أمر به فيعطيه كاملا موفرا طيبة به نفسه فيدفعه إلى الذي أمر له به أحد المتصدقين متفق عليه. وفي رواية الذي يعطي ما أمر به وضبط المتصدقين بفتح القاف مع كسر النون على التثنية وعكسه على الجمع وكلاهما صحيح. He then quotes the narration of Abu Musa radiallahu anhu, the companion Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, who said that the Prophet ﷺ said, listen to this hadith, Shaykhan. He said, Al-Khazinul Muslim Al-Amin. He says, the trustworthy Muslim treasurer. The trustworthy Muslim treasurer. The one who is in charge of money, in charge of sadaqah. And he's a Muslim, and he is trustworthy. Whether he's a treasurer, whatever name was, how do you give him? The one who makes the final handoff and the pass off. He's Muslim and he's trustworthy, and he executes when he is commanded and with what he was commanded. Give this person sadaqah. Anybody who comes to this masjid and they ask for sadaqah, whether they look drunk, high, poor, black, white, yellow, Indian, this, that, whatever they are, and they have some type of need, give them a percentage of the money of the masjid. $10 staple. We can't do more than that unless you have proof, unless we know you, unless you doesn't seem to be a liar, but we can at least give everybody $10. Mathalan, hypothetically speaking, some masjids are like this. They have a stable amount of charity that anyone is entitled to. Anyone who comes to the masjid asking the imam for money, we give him no less than $50. A brother that we know, that we pray with, that doesn't drink, that doesn't smoke, and he has a situation, give him $500 if we have the money, $5,000, whatever the case may be. But everybody's entitled to something. So the imam, from the administration of the masjid, or the president of the masjid, whoever is in charge, and he says, give this person this money. And the Muslim, he does this, and he gives the money in full. He clearly said, give him $50, and he gives him $50, not $49, not $45, not I take a 10, I take a 20, and he only needs 30. No, he gives exactly what he was commanded to give. Tayyibatan, and he's pleased. He's not upset. He's not doubtful. Here you go. Because at the end of the day, it's not what? It ain't my money. It's the money of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not mine to be stingy with. It's not mine to feel a certain type of way. If the person's a liar, if the lady's a prostitute, if a person's a drunkard, is that between me and Allah or them and Allah? No question. Now, Allah clearly says, don't give your wealth to fools. Don't give your wealth to fools. Don't spend. Allah doesn't like those who are spendthrifts. No question about that. But it doesn't mean that every single person who asks and begs for money has to fit an extended list of criteria. Rather, you giving a drunk Muslim some money, it may prevent him from drinking. He may have drunk because he was depressed and he didn't have a job. We all know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about the one who stole. Perhaps giving him the money will stop him from stealing. Everybody understand this? So this is a standard amount of money. It's not me to be stingy with. It's not me to say, oh, you're this and you're that. He says he gives it from his heart and he feels pleased with it. The Muslim who does this, it says he is one of the two people who give charity. Ahadul mutasaddiqeen. And another version, Ahadul mutasaddiqeen. He's one of the people who give the sadaqah. And whose money is it? It's not his money. He did not give the money out of his pocket. It's the masjid's money. It's the country's money. The Muslim state, it's their money. However, because he gave it to him in this type of way, then he is one of the people who gets a what? Reward as if he gave the sadaqah. Because he cooperated with the leader and he cooperated with the beggar. He cooperated with the orphan, with the poor person. He was the middleman, and the middleman was crucial. The one who's in charge, he says, give the money to the people. Obviously, it's unexpected for the leader to be in every single place and every situation. It's impossible. He has things that are far more important to the state than to be in every single street, in every single house. So the middleman, his executioner, the one who executes it, his henchman, quote unquote, his deputy is crucial. He has to have an ear to the streets, be in contact with the people, and at the same time go back for the direct instructions for he who is above him. Everybody clear on this or not? So he has to cooperate with the poor, the needy, and with the one who's in charge of the money. So that's the highlighting point from this hadith. And this hadith is collected by Imam al-Bukhari and collected by Imam Muslim. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who cooperate upon righteousness and piety, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best.